They threw me out at 16 for a lie my brother told. After 12 years of silence, they showed up at my door. They weren't there to apologize. They saw my success and came to ask for money to bail my brother out. The audacity. They threw me out for a lie. Years later, they knocked on my door with their hands out. Let me take you back to the worst day of my life. I was 16, and my entire world was in a heap on the front lawn. My clothes, my books, the few photos I had of me and my friends, all of it, tossed out of my bedroom window by the two people who were supposed to love me most. My parents stood in the doorway, their faces cold, as my twin brother smirked behind them. The reason? A story. A vicious, ugly, completely made-up story my brother had spun about me. And they believed him, just like they always did. My entire childhood was a lesson in being second best. My brother was the golden child, the one destined for greatness. I was the black sheep. Why? Because I liked to laugh. Because I preferred the feeling of a soccer ball at my feet to the weight of a textbook in my hands. Because I had friends. I can still feel the sting of those comparisons. He got lavish birthday parties with magicians and bounce houses. I got a store-bought cake after dinner, if they remembered. He had sleepovers every weekend, the house buzzing with his friends. I was never, ever allowed to bring a friend home. Not once. My parents said it was a distraction. What it really felt like was a punishment for existing. The only light in that house was my grandmother. She'd visit and her eyes would just soften when she looked at me. She'd press a box of my favorite chocolates into my hand and whisper, "For my champion," and slip a folded-up $20 bill inside the box. That $20 felt like a lifeline. It was proof that someone, somewhere, thought I was worth something. But the favoritism wasn't just unfair, it turned cruel. They mocked my B- report cards while celebrating my brother's B+. They called my passion for sports a waste of time and refused to let me join any teams, insisting I stay home and try to be more like your brother. I felt so small. So helpless. Nothing I did was ever good enough. Then came the Snapchat incident. I was a sophomore. Every single one of my friends had it. It was just how we talked. But my parents had forbidden me from talking to friends outside of school. When they found the app on my phone, you would have thought I'd committed a felony. They screamed. They ransacked my room, throwing my things against the wall. And then my dad got a screwdriver and took my bedroom door right off its hinges. You don't deserve privacy, my mom spat. You've lost that right. And through it all, my brother watched. He didn't just watch, he saw an opportunity. Our house was a toxic playground for him. Our parents' bias was his superpower. If he stole money from my mom's purse, he'd point the finger at me, and I'd be grounded for a month. If he broke a vase, she did it, I saw her. And they'd believe him without a second thought. He'd make fun of my clothes, my hair, my acne right in front of my friends. He was seething with jealousy because, while he was a lonely introvert, people liked me. I was easy to talk to, I was kind, and I had a real group of friends who actually wanted to be around me. The breaking point for him was our 14th birthday. Not a single one of his friends showed up to his party. I don't know why, maybe they finally saw what he was really like. But my friends? They whisked me away for ice cream sundaes and we laughed until our sides hurt. It was a perfect day. For him, it was the ultimate humiliation. His revenge was nuclear. He started a campaign against me at school. He told everyone I was a monster. A spoiled, violent brat who beat him up at home. And then, he started making it look real. I'd walk into the kitchen and he'd be there, staring at me with a cold hatred, and then he'd punch himself in the face. Right in the eye. Hard. The next day at school, he'd stride through the hallways with a shiny black eye, pointing at me and shaking his head sadly. You should see what she did to my ribs, he'd whisper to anyone who would listen. He was a brilliant, twisted actor. When my parents asked about the bruises, he had a ready-made lie. "Oh, just got tackled too hard at football practice." And they'd clap him on the back and tell him to be more careful. The lies got bigger, wilder, more disgusting. He told our parents the ultimate lie, the one he knew would get me thrown out for good. He told them he'd caught me doing drugs in my room. He said he tried to stop me, and that I'd flown into a rage and attacked him. They didn't ask for my side of the story. They didn't look for evidence. They just saw their perfect son, with a fresh bruise on his cheek, a bruise he'd given himself, and they made their choice. That's how I ended up on the curb at 16. I grabbed what I could from the pile on the lawn, called the only friend whose number I had memorized, and I never looked back. It was a brutal, scary, and lonely road. I worked 2 jobs while finishing high school. I slept on couches. I cried myself to sleep more nights than I can count. But that fire they'd tried to extinguish? The one that made me a fighter on the soccer field? It kept me going. 12 years later, I'm 28. That fire built a life. I built a successful business from the ground up. I have an amazing apartment, a chosen family of friends who would move heaven and earth for me, and a peace I never knew was possible. And then, last week, the past showed up at my door. I looked through the peephole and there they were. All 3 of them. My parents, looking old and tired. And my brother, standing behind them, still looking like a weasel. My mother spoke first. "Honey, we've missed you so much. We made mistakes." My father chimed in. "We're so proud of the woman you've become. We saw your feature in the business magazine." Then came the ask. The reason for the visit after 12 years of silence. My brother's business is failing. He's drowning in debt. They've remortgaged their house to try and save him, but it's not a nug. They need my help. They need my money. I looked at their desperate, expectant faces. I saw the years of pain and neglect reflected in their eyes. And I thought about that $20 my grandmother slipped me, the only kindness in a house full of shadows. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply smiled a small, calm smile and said the words I'd been waiting half my life to say. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice steady. "But helping you would be a distraction. I need to focus on my own success. You should try to be more like me." And I closed the door.